On this episode of Bite Sized, we are watching and discussing the 39th scene of the movie Twilight. For those of you watching along at home, that is from 57:24 to 58:05. And now, on to the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Bite Sized. If this is not your first episode, welcome back. If this is your first episode, welcome front or forward, I guess. Hey, you're not supposed to be laughing yet.
Well, I'm sorry. That was very funny.
Okay, thank you. For those of you who are listening the first time, here's what's going on. My name's Ben. I am your host. I'm watching the movie Twilight one scene at a time with a different guest every week. I send someone about 90 seconds of the movie Twilight. We talk about it with little to no other context other than what my guest brings to the table. Speaking of guests, whose table I am brought things to right now, my guest today, I forgot to ask you your title, so I'm just going to freeball this one. I don't know if I want to use the word freeball, but there we go.
It's too late. You've done it.
Our guest today is an improviser, a comedian, an actor. I saw you in a board game commercial once. A writer, question mark?
Yes.
He's also been a guest on this show. You may recognize his voice from episode 2, Will Nicholson. Welcome back to Bite Sized.
Thank you so much for having me back. It is great to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to start this interview the way I start every interview, even though I've already asked you this question. Tradition demands that I must. It's by asking you, Will Nicholson, what is your history with the Twilight franchise?
Oh, I love hearing that question again. You know, I grew up reading the books in middle school. When I was in middle school, is kind of when the movie started coming out. Like they announced the movie was being made when I was in 6th grade, and it became the thing that everybody talked about. My English teacher had us making like playlists for the movie. It was like, ooh, if we were making the soundtrack for Twilight, what would it be? I did have Paramore on it, so I like to think that I'm a little bit of a precog. Yes, absolutely.
Maybe even grounds for a lawsuit there?
Honestly, Stephanie Meyer better watch her back. I know she didn't produce the movie.
I know that was that was already her favorite band or whatever going into the production. But Catherine Hardwicke, you're on notice.
I think my English teacher was a sleeper agent for Lionsgate. Is that
a
who
great
did?
point.
I think it's Lionsgate, right?
Summit Entertainment. I don't think Lionsgate was involved with this one.
You're right. It is absolutely.
You want to try that again?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll switch it out. Don't worry. No one will be hearing this right now.
Exactly. Oxford definitely will not leave this in the episode.
For sure. There's no way this makes the final cut.
My English teacher, clearly a sleeper agent for Summit Films Entertainment.
It's just Summit Entertainment.
Damn it.
Anyway.
I really enjoyed the books. I was a big hopeless romantic in my younger years, and I'm definitely not one now.
You're a hopeful romantic now.
Yeah.
Or are you a hopeless unromantic?
I'm a jaded, bitter person who doesn't believe in love.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I still believe in love, and I gotta say, this scene in the movie is, I feel like, the quintessential Twilight. Like, this is the line that made everybody swoon, you know?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it, so let's get on into it then.
Hell yeah.
We're talking about 40 seconds of movie here. Bella Swan is laying in bed. It looks like she just woke up. She's just sort of rolling around a little bit while we hear her voiceover.
About 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how dominant that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him.
And during this, Edward rolls up and she just sort of shakes her head. And now we get on into the scene. Because she's laying in bed, do you think she just woke up?
No. I recognize the pose that she's laying in well. And that's the having flopped down onto your bed because you're thinking about just like too much stuff.
Okay.
It's the arm over the head, like resting in the crook of your elbow, just like... boys.
That's interesting, and I'm going to disagree. And I think that means we're going to disagree about a lot on this scene.
Man, I'm ready to fight.
I think over the course of the scene, there is evidence that she just woke up.
You think she absolutely just woke up?
Yes, even though she is fully, I mean, she's wearing like a long sleeve shirt that could be like a shirt you wear to bed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's wearing at least one bracelet, which to me, I wouldn't sleep in a bracelet.
Well, exactly. I wouldn't sleep in a bracelet either. So that's why she didn't just wake up. She's just been laying there thinking.
That's the only part of this I'm going to give to you, though.
It's also the middle of the day. So it could have been a nap.
I don't think it's the middle of the day.
You don't think it's the middle of the day?
No, and maybe I'm cheating because I know what happens after this in the next scene.
Okay.
But the scene after this, I'm going to break one of my no context rules, is the two of them arriving at school for the day.
Okay, so it's morning.
Yeah.
Okay, well then,
morning.
okay, that's fair. Then that's a dim morning. Hello, Forks, Washington.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of why they're in Forks, Will.
I get it.
Because there's not a lot of sunshine.
You know what? You're right. And when you're right, you're right.
And that's the whole point of the last scene you were on. It was her in Arizona.
God, yeah.
Come on,
that
man.
blue filter just blown completely out.
Oh, Will.
What? Oh no!
No, you did a good thing.
What?
It's my fault that I'm upset about. Yes, editor Ben, please drop in the sound of a bell here. We're recording at Will's apartment right now, and I forgot to pack the blue bell. But yes, Will, that's correct. This movie is very blue because in Forks, Washington, it's cloudy all the time.
And I'll say this scene also, when I mentioned that it was quintessential Twilight, that did include the blue tint. I mean,
for sure.
The color grading here is just like textbook what this movie is going to look like.
What you say you recognize as her sort of laying around, clearly a lot on her mind, is me. I recognize that as you're awake, but you haven't gotten out of bed yet.
Yeah,
and you're just thinking about what's going on in your life and trying to get the energy to get out of bed.
Okay, so
you know?
this is where now I am going to start splitting hairs.
Okay, then let's do it. No, let's
I'm
fight.
going to stand by the fact that she has not just woken up.
Okay.
It may be morning and she is laying in her bed and she may not have gotten out of bed yet for the day, but I think she's been up for hours staring at the ceiling and thinking about...
What time do you think it is?
I think she couldn't sleep last night because she was up late on the internet, found out her crush was a vampire, and then she laid in bed going, oh, fuck, my crush is a vampire. He one day sucked my blood, that's for damn sure, but maybe I also love him.
But your stance here
Yes.
is that she has been awake
Not all night.
for a while.
I think maybe she drifted in and out a little bit.
But she's been awake long enough to get dressed and get ready and then lay back down in her bed.
No, I don't think she's dressed and ready. I think
Okay.
I think you were right. That is absolutely like a sleep shirt. That's a pajama shirt.
But you do admit she got up and did some stuff and then got back in bed, because that makes no sense to me, sir.
No, I don't admit that at all.
Yes, according to your reading, that's what must be.
When?
If you're going to tell me that she's been awake for a while
Yeah.
and has maybe been doing stuff.
No, she's been tossing and turning. She's been trying to get to sleep, but she can't.
You're sliding. Your position
I'm not
is shifting.
sliding. That
It
matches
is.
my original narrative. And
It
I
does not,
stand
and the
by
listener
that.
can go back and hear which one of us is correct. Yeah, she's rolling around, and Edward honks. We hear a honk. It obviously
Right.
kind of, unless it's a sheer coincidence, that honk is definitely Edward.
No, it's got to be him. And then he's so fast, he runs out of the car and
my
is
God.
already nonchalant.
Will,
leaning
that
against
is
it.
one of my most significant notes in this. Yeah, that I timed it. I watched it a few times.
Oh, yeah?
And from the honk to her seeing him leaning against the car all cool guy like takes, I think, like 8.5 seconds.
Wow.
Which means he definitely used his vampire super whooshing speed powers to just look cool and dramatic and lean against the car.
Yeah, he did it fully to flex on her. He's trying to riz her up.
What a drama queen.
I know. And I love the fact too that like there's all this risk about if anybody finds out he's a vampire, and he like the whole like car like parking lot scene was a big thing because he's like, I use my powers in daylight. He's just like casually like, I gotta lean against this car, and I just honked. Time to use my powers.
Right.
Hope
In front
Charlie
of-
isn't looking out the window right now.
Yeah, better hope dad's already at work and the neighbors aren't also getting ready for school and work and may see that.
I will say, in his defense, he can read all of those people's minds to know where they're looking at the moment. So I think he does have a pretty good radar of when it's safe to flex his powers.
I guess.
But that's what I'm like in my head. How long? I want to know this.
Yeah.
How long do you think he's been parked out there trying to read her mind?
Well, he knows he already knows he can't.
I know he knows he can't, but he still goes back every night to try.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think he's sitting there like, I wish I could hear her dreams.
I think he just showed up. That's
Okay.
sort of the way I took
That's
it.
fair.
Yeah.
He very well might have.
I think he did.
I like the tension of him sitting out there in the car being like, oh, normally I can eavesdrop on people's dreams, but why can't I hear hers?
For some reason, doing that in a car is even weirder than the way he normally does it in the tree
Stand
or
outside
just
her
like
window,
hanging
yeah.
in her bedroom. For some reason, him being outside in the car, it just turns him into some normal guy.
Why is his nickname for her Spider Monkey? He's the one always climbing trees.
That's a great point, and we haven't got there yet, but I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Oh man, you are about to hit one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Do you know the origin story of the Spider Monkey line?
I don't. Is there an origin story?
I don't want to spoil the full story
No,
because we're going to
don't.
talk about this when we get to that scene.
Yeah, just tease it for that later episode. Listener, you got to stick around for that story.
But that was like made up on the day.
I love that.
The director came up with a few lines for him to say, and Robert Pattinson was like, "Fine, that's the one."
Amazing.
And I'll get deeper into the story behind that when we get to that
I love
scene.
that there's more behind it. I want to know what some of the alternates unchosen were by our Pat.
The alternative to him using his vampire powers to whoosh around the car
Yeah.
is that he got out of the car
Yep.
and then leaned against the car and sat there for a minute and then realized he sort of made the decision to stand there and look cool.
And was like, wait,
I don't have her phone number and I can't just sort of hope that she will see me. So he had to open the passenger side door, lean over, honk, honk, then real quick get out and lean against the passenger side of the car. Because that would not require vampire speed.
I love that. And I'm going to pitch to you a
Yes.
third option, a third
Ooh.
alternative that I think combines some of the ideas we've had in a really fun way, in that
Okay.
he has been leaning against that car for hours.
That's also a possibility.
The honk is coincidental. It is just somebody else driving by and seeing this teen whose car is loitering in front of a house, and it's like, hey, get out of here, loitering teen. and he's just been brooding about how he can't read her mind, leaning against his car, waiting for her to wake up.
Charlie's a cop. He probably leaves for work before the sun rises.
Oh, absolutely.
So he was just like hanging out down the block, waiting to see him drive away.
Oh, God.
And then drove up and just stood there.
You know what is funny about that image to me is
What's that?
like the idea of Edward sitting intensely before the sun is risen down the block with his headlights off, just gripping the steering wheel, waiting for Charlie to leave, is so on par with the like predatorial undertones of this movie, but is such a juxtaposition to the like lover boy romance that's happening.
And again, somehow creepier than him hanging out in a tree or like climbing through her window.
Absolutely.
Because if it's something that like only a vampire could do, it's
Right.
like kind of, there's a little bit of mystery there.
it becomes like fantasy.
But like but just if he was just sitting down the block in his car with the lights off, that's like,
It's too real.
that's things that people actually do and get
Yeah.
restraining orders over.
This quote from Bella is the romantic fantasy of the whole books, of the movies. It is the monster fucking revolution that Stephanie Meyer unlocked.
It's sort of her whole storyline. It is a little bit of, hey, watcher, in case you miss it, here's my character's whole dilemma.
Oh, absolutely. And you know this quote was on so many Tumblr pages.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And like still is.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, because this is a direct pull from the book. Like
Yes.
this quote is written in the book. At that part, like I remember it. I recognized. I was like, yes, this is like a direct pull because this line is so iconic for people. And I get it. I see why. It's got all of that Romeo Juliet nonsense going on that gives us a delicious, delicious love story.
Yeah. And it's sort of the only it's basically a monologue. The way she says these things and the way it takes up the whole scene. So I'm going to challenge you now, Will Nicholson, to do what she did. And in 40 seconds, I want you to name 3 things about which you're absolutely positive. Go.
3 things about which I am absolutely positive.
35 seconds.
1, I live in Chicago, Illinois.
Very factual, 30 seconds.
2, that makes me cold much more often than I would like to be.
Okay, 23 seconds left.
And 3, every time I go outside,
15 seconds.
I always unquestionably wish that I had brought a slightly heavier jacket.
Okay. And 5, 4.
No, that much?
Yeah.
That much time left?
Yeah, you had a lot, and now time is up.
Oh, wow. I was really trying to hit the pace of the scene so
Yeah.
that there would be like a couple seconds of an Edward lean in there, but I undershot it.
Yeah, you did. You had a lot more time to think of things other than
Where I live in the weather.
basically, let's be honest. Facts 1 and 2 are I live in Chicago and I live in Chicago. I don't mean to judge the 3 things about which you're absolutely positive, but
I mean, look, I've had a long day. You're asking.
Yeah.
Oh, well, guess what?
yeah.
That was my door buzzer.
I wonder what secret guest that's going to be. You can let someone in.
All right, great. I will say that.
We'll pause this recording for a
pause
second.
it. Yeah, absolutely. It's Aksha.
Oh, hi, Oxer.
Hey, guess what? You're going to hear a lot of this again later.
Look who it is. It's editor of the show, Ben Oxer.
Hey, everybody!
Ben, would you like to take a challenge that Will just did? Okay, come sit down for a second. Grab the mic.
So, editor of the show, Ben Oxer, has just entered my apartment, and we're going to give him the same challenge that I just had. And we were not going to give him any idea of what I did because I want to see what he comes up with.
Ben, this is going to make more sense to you when you actually edit the episode.
Okay.
But in 40 seconds,
Yeah.
I would like you to name 3 things about which you are absolutely positive. Go.
In general,
Yeah.
the Earth rotates around the sun.
35 seconds.
There's no way for me to breathe in space, and I'm 35 years old.
Okay, great. 25 seconds left. Much more efficient than Bella Swan. Not too bad at all.
Man, 2 of them were space related.
Yeah, that's true. And one of them was your age.
And one of them was
Yeah.
my age.
Not
they could have
quite.
been all me related, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm not the center of my own universe.
This is fun for the listeners' reference. We're recording at Will's apartment tonight because I'm getting in a recording session before our bi-weekly Dungeons and Dragons game, and more former guests of the show may pop in as the doorbell rings, and I'm really tempted to make them do the same thing.
Well,
But
I'll hand it back over to the proper guest for this week.
thank you and apologies in advance for the audio quality of this episode.
Thank you, Ben. What a treat. I love
Yeah.
that, again, a lot of self-facts
Yeah.
that come forward.
I like the fact that Ben Oxer is absolutely positive that he cannot breathe in space, despite, to my knowledge, never having been to space or trying.
He might be able to. He might be the first genetic mutation in humanity that can breathe vacuum.
And maybe dang NASA's been lying about the breathability of space.
You don't think
Maybe
it's a
he
vacuum?
Can. What?
You don't think it's a vacuum?
I don't know what's up there. I've never been.
Wow.
I couldn't tell you.
What if Dyson's in on it?
It's a possibility. I was trying to think of a vacuum joke too.
Great.
Anyway,
Glad we got there. For your information, Aksher, my 3 things were about how I lived in Chicago. It's cold and I need a jacket a lot.
It's not cold right now.
no.
Well, often it is.
Edward is there to pick her up
Absolutely.
for something. School, we will learn in the next scene. Bella goes to the window to look at him, and it's really this particular shot that makes me think she has not got out of bed yet, because that is not the hair of someone who has looked in a mirror. She's got bedhead. She's got movie bedhead.
Okay, for
Yeah.
sure. And I hear that. And,
Yeah.
and I'm going to take an opposite position just because that's kind of the energy we've had this episode.
Yes.
And I think you're forgetting one critical piece of information, and that is Kristen Stewart does a hair touch always.
But
so
this
much.
is not something that she touched. She's got like an enormous swoop of someone who just got out of bed.
And that's not.
No, I'm not even talking. Like, she does not, to my knowledge, touch her hair and make it do that. She just walks up to the window and has some real Conan O'Brien action going on.
But has she been doing that in bed previously?
I don't know.
This scene starting.
I don't know,
I posit yes.
but I posit that is further proof she's not yet gotten out of bed.
I think that as we've gone along, you're probably more right.
Yeah.
But I also am too entrenched in my arguments to admit that.
And I think it makes for a better episode if we disagree.
I will also say that this scene is like I'm calling it right now. I'm Babe Ruthing it. This scene absolutely had to be the first time so many people that were of the age to start reading Twilight, like my demographic. I'm betting it is absolutely the time where a lot of those people learned how to pronounce irrevocably. Irrevocably. I can't do it. I still can't. She just said it in the movie. I still call it irrevocably because I read it before I ever
irrevocably.
Heard it. And irrevocably, it's there. Yeah.
I will say, props to Kristen Stewart. She's given a lot of tough words and
oh yeah, it's a word salad she's chewing through.
And especially because the way she phrases it is like, there were 3 things about which I was absolutely positive. Like very good grammar to make sure you're not ending the sentence with a preposition. So it's a very unnatural, very formal way of speaking that she handles very well.
And I think that adds to the melodrama of it. That adds
absolutely.
to that like heightened
That
romantic
purple prose. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, she does well with it. And it is such an iconic line. She has to deliver it well, and I think she does. I think she delivers what the fans wanted with that line.
Absolutely. She also delivers as she's looking down at Edward in her car. She sort of like shrugs and gives a little head shake, sort of in like a "oh you rascal" kind of way that to me communicates that she was not expecting this.
Yeah, no.
This was not something he did not say, I'll pick you up for school tomorrow.
Because he's been such a good communicator before now.
Well, yeah. But he just sort of showed up and honked.
Yeah.
And now...
Oh, my vampire boyfriend.
Per my theory, that she is getting out of bed for the first time, he has to wait for like 30 minutes while she eats breakfast and brushes her teeth and packs her backpack and gets ready for school. And he's just sort of standing around out there leaning on his car because... he didn't warn her, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you're locked in on that get up and go mentality.
Oh, we got another guest.
You're locked in on that. I'll get it clean for you, Aksher. You're locked in on that get up and never mind.
The doorbell rang again. It's time to see which former guest is going to be walking into the studio now to take my challenge again. That sounds like episode former guest Sarah Murphy. About to make her 3rd appearance on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is fun. We should do this. We should ambush more people with podcasts. Sarah, we have a question for you. Yes.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up?
Go ahead. Take a seat.
Hi, should I talk into the mic? What's up?
Hi, Sarah Murphy. How's it going?
It's going good. What's
Welcome
up,
to your
Bedhead
3rd
and
appearance
Will Nicholson.
on an episode of Bite Sized. Sarah, I'm going to put you up to a challenge that these 2 guys have now done.
Oh no, I'm scared.
It's fun. You'll understand more
when
if you listen to the rest of the episode. But I'm going to give you 40 seconds. You have to name 3 things about which you are absolutely positive. Go.
That Matt Groening is the creator of Futurama, that I have seen every single episode of Lost, and that I am getting married to Megan.
Okay, that's 3 things in 9 seconds. Great, good job. I did not expect.
What's wrong? Why? What is funny about knowing things?
No,
It's not bad. It's
no.
Just I love that to neither of them we explained that a part of the premise of this is trying to stretch your 3 things out over the full 40 seconds.
Well, that was never. I mean, that was that. No.
Was that not ever
That's
part
not
of
something
it?
I ever said.
Oh.
That 40 seconds was a deadline. That was a maximum, not a minimum.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
interpreted it as a deadline, not a...
Well, I also thought it was a deadline, but I interpreted it as try and fill this 40 seconds.
Oh no.
Can I ask why I
No.
just did that upon entry to this room?
No, you cannot.
You'll understand if you listen to episode 39. All right. I think we've done enough messing around. Let's start to wrap this up. Will Nicholson, if you had to give this scene a name, what would it be? This is also going to be the name of the episode to make it good, and you've done this before, so it better be extra good.
And I forgot that I had to do this part.
That's a common thing that people say who should have known this was coming.
I've done it before. I absolutely knew it was
So
coming.
hit me with that title. Go.
Bedhead thoughts for a monstrous boyfriend.
Thoughts for a monstrous boyfriend. Okay. That's a good one.
No, I'm kidding.
Not as much punctuation as your last one, but still nice and long. I like it. Will
Never
Nicholson,
let them know your next move.
if people like the sound of your voice and the cut of your jib and want to maybe see you do a show live or follow you on social media, where can they do that kind
Here
of
are
thing?
my next moves. I'm Sir Chilliam in on Instagram. You should follow me there, and you can find links to my other socials there. You should also check out a little show called Oops All Bards. It's gonna be coming to Otherworld Theater, season 2 coming at you. Go check that out. I directed, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. You should also keep your ears and eyes out for a new little podcast called The Wicked and the Willing. That's gonna be my brother and I doing a D&D actual play podcast.
Interesting. Your brother,
My
successful
brother,
rapper,
Wick
Wick
Whitney, who you should also follow on Instagram at Wick Makes Music, WIC, Wick Makes Music. He is a fabulous artist who has a single dropping on Friday, which will be after this, or before this airs probably, but also has an EP coming soon, and will be playing the Salt Shed opening for Sammy Ray in
the Salt
October.
Shed.
Yeah, so if you're in Chicago, give him a listen and go to that show because it's going to be fucking phenomenal.
Well, there you go. If you want more suggestions of things to do online, you can follow this show at bitesizedpod_ on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you like the show, please share it with a friend. Give it a review, give it a rate, give it a subscribe, whatever you do on your podcast platform of choice. I don't know which one you're using, so I can only get that specific. If you want to send an email to the show, you can do so. You can send an email to my favorite Twilight podcast at gmail.com or send a direct message to the show on Instagram and TikTok. I read those all the time because I have nothing else going on. I want to give a special shout out to a listener of the show who said some very kind words on the show's Instagram. Please hold while I find that. Where is it? What episode was this even? Not that one, not that. Thank you to episode user Fine Pool Equipment, who says, greetings from Ecuador. Been at the hospital for a couple days, and your pod is helping me get through all this. Thanks. No, Fine Pool Equipment, thank you. I'm so happy that this podcast can do that for you. Podcasts get me through a lot of hard times, so if I can do the same thing for anyone else, I feel truly glad and blessed. Also, hey, cool, I have at least one listener in Ecuador. What the hell?
Hell yeah.
Thank you to the band's Swimwear department for letting me use their song Maul to Death as their theme. Thank you to my editor, Ben Oxshire, for editing this episode, and apologies because the audio quality is probably going to be worse because we're holding our mics.
Fuck you!
Kellen Lutz, if you're listening, please reach out and get on the show. That is all that we have for today. That is it for this episode of Bite Sized. As we always say at the end of every episode,
Johnny talks a lot.
Johnny talks a lot. I don't know why we say it, but we do. See you next time.
About 3 things I was absolutely positive.
The Earth rotates around the sun.
First,
Matt Groening is the creator of Futurama.
Edward was a vampire.
I live in Chicago, Illinois.
I have seen every single episode of Lost.
Second,
That makes me cold.
there was a part of him,
No way
and I didn't know how dominant that part might be,
for me to breathe in space.
that thirsted for my blood.
I am getting married to Megan.
I wish that I had brought
And third,
a slightly heavier jacket.
I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him.
I'm 35 years old.